Hello, my name is Johan, and today I will show you Fugl's new level editor. So let's get started with the basics. To move around, use the WASD keys, and to lower, use Q, and to raise up, use E. And drag like I do now in the window to rotate the camera. And if you go into camera here, there is also option to, you can choose a different resolution, and that makes it run much slower, but also in a higher quality. So find the resolution that works for you, and you can drag it up if you want to take a screenshot, for example. And there's also this voxel checkbox here, and that turns on the voxel rendering. But it's even slower, so it runs at an even lower resolution. So I like to keep it off. Alright, so the editor is divided up in several stages, and you can access them from Generate. And you start off with a height map, like this. And I'm just going to show you this curve here. That is very interesting. You can kind of raise and lower according to this curve, and I use it a lot to manipulate the fractal noise. So the next stage is called Canyon, where you can carve out canyons from the terrain. See here, I use it to isolate landmass to if I want more ocean, but you can also use it to make nice canyons. And you can also bring in presets. Any of these buttons here, they all have presets that are automatically saved when you save a biome. So here I can access different presets on these parameters. So the next stage is called Sculpt, and here there's several things going on at the same time. There's some primitives you can add. Or subtract, actually, as in this case. Put it to add. You could also recurse the primitives and use this offset parameter here to control how much they are offset in each iteration, and persistence, how much they're shrinking in each iteration. So if I set persistence to 1, it will just continue without getting smaller. Softness also is kind of how much things blend into the terrain, and I use it a lot all through. You will notice there's a lot of the same, even though it's complex, being complex is the kind of the same concepts going through again and again. And one of these concepts, let me just show you this first. This is the a Distort, where you can actually use the fractal noise to distort the base terrain. Yeah. So the next stage, and the very important concept I wanted to talk about, is the concept of the texture. And a texture consists of 3 things. It consists of a gradient, as you can see here. You can change the color, and also change the parameter called fuzziness, and it's kind of a contrast on the color, basically. If I have no fuzz, it's very smooth. If I turn it up, it gets more noisier. And also banding, to create fewer colors if I want a more stylistic effect. And then there's structure, which is the surface of things. Like here, we manipulate the base terrain and modulate that with some 3D noise, and we can choose and just tweak around the parameters, try to find something we like. Now it got very noisy here, so if you mess up, you can also here bring in in something from another biome that's already made. So that's the preset is for the whole kind of this whole whole stage. I can also bring in presets for just the texture, or I could bring in just for the structure, the surface of the rock here, to try different things instead of you know, hand tweaking everything from scratch. It's much easier to just use one of the presets and tweak it from there, basically. And if you totally mess up, you can always press the reset button. And it's smart to start, to base it, you find the biome you like and you duplicate that one, you give it a new name, and then you're basically good to go, and you can bring in different aspects from the different already made biomes by using these buttons. So the last thing in texture is something called pattern, which is kind of the low scale patterning that I will show you now. It's easily best shown in voxel mode. So if I change, here you can see the patterning kind of changes. High frequency, low frequency, high amplitude, low amplitude. So and this is kind of small scale thing, but we also have like the more big scale coloring that goes on here. It's something called color warp. So, but it's basically the same kind of control, only it's more global. So I can. So. One thing that is very good to do is kind of mute different fractal noise generators, because if there's a lot of things going on at the same time, it can be very hard to see what's going on. So now I'm turning off all the different noise generators, and we can look at them one by one. So if you turn on this, you see it's very heavy, so we can turn it down to see a little bit more what's going on. Because it's very hard to work when you know, you have everything enabled at the same time. So moving on to back to the color warp. If you turn that on, you can see that this is a little bit more large scale. So it's kind of hard. You kind of have to experiment a little bit here to find what you like, and you can also choose different kind of noise generators, different kind of noises. And the third thing here that determines the patterning is domain warping of the noise here. So you can use that to get kind of interesting lines and warping, kind of like you can see here, stuff like that. So play around with these controls. You can spend 5 minutes or an eternity. So the next mode is primitives, where you can add in, it's like sculpt, you add in primitives, and but they get a different color, different coloring. So it's for variation, and you have 3 banks of them. And here it's the same as a recursive primitive box. I could change that to something else, like just a sphere, for instance. And also the wiggle determines how much the direction each iteration wiggles, and upwards likewise how much it goes upwards. And yeah, size and all these different and offset determines the distance between each iteration. So it's the same thing here. You have a texture with a gradient that you can change, and then also the structure, the noise, the surface, and the gain. If you increase the gain, or yeah, it changes the midpoint of the noise. And likewise here you have color warping, so you can change how the color is modulated. And also gain, very important, bringing it up or down. Right, so next stage is the cave stage, where you add caves, and here it's nice to switch it around so you only see the caves, and you can use the seed to get different cave systems to see how it looks, and how much it branches, maximum slope, how much it goes up and down, back and forth, radius, minimum radius, maximum radius. And also likewise you have a texture here with the structure, noise, how much noise, and patterning. And you can also add rooms, cave rooms. Let's just increase the size a little bit there. Let's see if we can get any. Oh yeah, everything is set to 0 here. That's why it's good to use presets. Nope, that doesn't work. And then switch back and see how it looks. And you will have to go back and forth a few times to adjust size and stuff like that, and minimum, maximum height. Alright, so the next stage is the sand stage or beach stage, where you can add in some nice beaches, and you can have the amount. If you want maximum amount, you just drag the sharpness down here, and also increase the radius. Yeah, you just have to find something that works for you. And likewise, you have the texture concept again, and you can add color and structure, frequency, yeah, for special effects. And then the next stage is the grass stage. We add the grass. And this stage is divided, so you have grass in the caves, and it's different. So we have cave texture for the caves, for the primitives, and then for the normal. So you can have different colors, like here on the primitives is different than in the cave, or what is the normal grass color. And here is the same thing, that you have the structure, so you can make. Oh, wrong here. You see here, this is the kind of the structure on the grass noise on the primitives. and it's only on the primitives now. And here is the height. So I can gain again, raises up the noise. Amplitude. Decrease the amplitude of the noise. Alright. Also here curves. It says like this is straight up and this is straight down and this is straight outwards. So this curve says that put grass on most part of the upper part, but nothing on the lower part. So now I can reduce the amount of grass. As you can see, it's less grass now. I can even do even less. And the same thing applies here. For instance, now you can see this is inside a cave. And here the color is different, as you can see. I can switch over to the cave texture. And make it a nice blue. And also here the patterning of the grass noise, and also the structure of the grass noise in the caves. So it's all separated to have it more variation. And you also have this color warp thing that you had with the primitives, and the normal rock is also for the grass. So the last stage is the plant stage, where you add in the plants, and this is the most heavy stage. So it can take a little time to generate, as you can see. So let's start off with the so you choose it here, and you have these different vegetation that are in biome. And now we want to reduce the amount of crystals, for instance. And so we go into populate, and here's all the presets for populate, but let's bring it down a little bit. And also, like, if it goes a little bit too slow, you can also, it could be nice to, you can just hide different the other vegetation if you just want to work quickly on one type, which can be nice. Alright, so that is better. You can also so I can also choose how much they're glowing. If I go into texture, I have a special glow parameter here. So I can turn that down. And so let's bring in some of the other vegetation. Trees, going to populate, unhide it. So you can see here in the populate, this is where it will populate. So this says normal rock. We could set it to primitive rock too. You see, and bring up the amount. And this cluster here is can make little pockets of trees, like here. If you turn it off, it will be only one and one tree, and some might be next to each other, but they're like here, but it's not super likely. So it's better to use, you make a little grove of trees by using this cluster. So that's very important. Here it's the height filter. It means here put trees and then taper them off towards. It basically means where would you want to put the trees height-wise. So if I just do like this, they will only come in the middle. Let's turn off the grass too, to get even more trees and lots of clustering. Let's see what happens. That's a lot of trees. So now you can see there's no trees. Oh, that's actually because this lower part here is it's the water. So if you just want it in the middle where it's air, we have to actually move this up a little bit. Also an important tip. Now you can see it only comes up here and not down there. Here, it's gone now. And also likewise the direction, it's filtered based on the direction, the normal of the surface, basically what direction the surface is pointing. So I can narrow this down. So it was the same with the grass filters basically, and I can say I only want trees facing upwards, at the places that are facing upwards. Let's turn off the clustering here so you can see. So now you get only trees at the top here, and no one trees sticking out from the sides. So that's important. And here, like, it's very good to just use the presets and bring in different, if I want something, you know, in the caves here, I want something else, instead of putting in all the parameters myself and tweaking my way to a good result. It's much easier to just base it off a preset. So I could change out the crystal here, for instance, with alien mushroom. Yeah. And then I could, okay, it's too big, for instance. It's easy just to bring down the size of it. And then, okay, maybe it's too bright, and you can just, or not too bright, not bright enough. All right, so I think that is a quick introduction. Yeah, one last thing, as you can see here, there's atmosphere control, where you can choose the lighting, the sun, where the sun comes in from, and also for the light fall off. For instance, if you look here now how the shadows are, if I do have less fall off, it will lighten up the shadows. Or if I, oh, that was the wrong control. If I have less fall off, it will lighten it up. So that depends on what kind of mood you want. And you can also diffuse the shadows. If you bring this up, it will be much less shadows, and I can bring the light fall off, so it will, yeah, change the lighting basically to something that suits your biome. But I like to keep it around here. Yeah, and also you have some color grading, where you can choose the light color. You can have different colored light basically, and also for the shadows. And here is a slightly blue color. If I just have gray, you can see the difference. Adds a little bit to it, to have this contrast between a yellowish color in the light and a bluish color in the shadows. And here also you have a very simple skybox with the horizon color and also sky color, so you can change to something that's more alien, for instance. Yeah, so I think, yeah, and a very important thing, when you're done and you think you have the most beautiful biome, it's very important to press this button, because that will randomize the whole thing from the start, all the seeds of the biome. It will be randomized, so and I use that in game. The player can use it to create variation on create a new level from the same description, basically. So you have a lot of replayability. So it's important to press it and see that things are still looking okay, good, because the fractal noise can sometimes give you results that are kind of unrealistic. It's just, you know, 1 in a million chance or something that, you know, gives you a big statue of something, you know, and you think you always get that statue, but that's not the case. So you really have to press that randomize button many times to see how it will look, the general look of it, basically. But when you save, you will save the seeds that you have selected. So it's important to say what you want, and then if you load it up, it will be the same, of course. So you press save here, and then it's saved, and you also notice that you will have this access to presets from the tutorial biome that you just made. So that means also if you do some crazy stuff with and mess it up completely, then you can also always, you know, just bring it back with the presets. So that's good to know. Alright, so I think that's good enough for now, and just email me at fugl.game@gmail.com if you have any questions, or join our Discord and chat more about this there. So, okay, thank you and goodbye.